You're listening to the Mid-Career GPS Podcast, episode 124.
The one thing that I wish they would have in mind is that every piece of content matters, from the selfies you take to the people you associate with, to the people who you comment on their posts and their pictures. All of that matters.
If you've wondered or questioned how to improve your marketability and professional brand on social media, this episode is a must listen. Many mid-career professionals give their social media, especially LinkedIn, greater attention when they're getting ready to look for a new job. As I help my clients build their mid-career GPS, we spend time discussing how they can leverage LinkedIn to attract recruiters who are looking for someone with their skill set and talent, along with optimizing their LinkedIn profile that accurately reflects their professional brand. And for the purpose of today's conversation, it was time for me to call in a social media strategist to have this conversation with you. Today, you will meet Shay Banks. Shay is a social media expert who helps individuals and companies generate more interest and attention that leads to more engagement, followers, and yes, more revenue. I've known Shay for about a year. We were passively and actively engaging on each other's email lists. A few months ago, I hired her to help me with some new projects in my business. I have thoroughly enjoyed working with her. I have learned a ton of information that has been relevant and useful to my business. And that's why it makes Shay a great guest to come on and have this conversation with me for you today. In this episode, you'll learn how to leverage your social media as an active job seeker and career professional. You'll learn why you must acknowledge that you're a brand ambassador for your employer. And Shay offers a few tips to help you with your LinkedIn. And yes, we have a few laughs along the way, and I hope you will laugh along with us. This is the Mid-Career GPS Podcast, and I'm your host, John Nerrell. I help mid-career professionals who feel stuck, undervalued, and underutilized show up to find a job they love or love the job they have using my proven 4-step formula. It's time to start building your mid-career GPS. Let's get started. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the podcast. If you're an active job seeker and aren't happy with your results, I've got something that will help you and give your job search efforts a much-needed energy boost. The 55-minute Career Transition Jumpstart is my free guide to help you navigate through where you are getting stuck finding that job you love, and will also help improve your messaging, storytelling, and overall marketability. Check the show notes or visit johnnerrell.com/free to download your copy of the 55-minute Career Transition Jumpstart, and let me help you find the job you love or love the job you have. Think about how you use social media. You might be using it as an opportunity to detach, laugh, find the best chocolate chip cookie recipe, which, by the way, when you find it, please let me know. And in many cases, you might be using it to help you network to find that new job. Just because you have access to social media on your device doesn't make you an expert. What it does is it makes you an expert in how you're most comfortable using it. It's why I felt it so important to bring Shay into this conversation today. We need to use our social media intentionally to help us leverage our talents and expertise in the best way possible. Make sure to listen to the entire episode because Shay has a very special offer for all of my listeners at the very end. It gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Shay Banks.
Hi, I'm Shay Banks, and I help people get better results using their social media profiles.
I can't wait to dig into today's conversation with you, because you and I are going to have a conversation about how active job seekers and especially mid-career professionals can use their social media more strategically to help them attract some attention of an employer, or even to establish their brand a little differently or more specifically so they can get noticed. We're going to get into all of that today, but I want people to get to know you a little bit more. So to get us started, what did you want to be growing up?
I, believe it or not, wanted to be a dancer, and more specifically, a hip hop dancer. So when I was growing up, Paula Abdul was the choreographer everybody wanted to be and wanted everyone to choreograph for their music videos. So I wanted to be her. I wanted to be Janet Jackson. I wanted to be Madonna. I wanted to go on tour. That's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to dance.
Well, that sounds like fun. So where did that take you?
That took me actually to college, to where I was a dance major, actually. And about halfway through, I realized, what am I going to do with the dance degree? How am I actually going to make money with this? Because I'm not getting gigs now. What am I going to do with the dance degree? So then I had to kind of switch gears. And instead of being a double major, which was mass communications and dance, I made dance one of my many minors, and I made mass communications my major. And I kind of put dance to the back burner.
I'm curious, was there a point when you started thinking about pursuing a career in dance where you were afraid it wouldn't be fun anymore? And it would just be a lot of work and wondering whether that success was going to come?
Yes, and it's very competitive. And it's all about, making sure you are the skinniest at that time. See, now it's not the same. I could probably be a dancer today, but back in the day, it was like, you got to be waist thin. You got to stay waist thin. Even for a hip hop dancer, you didn't want to have too much hips. So there was a point where I realized, I don't know if I'm ready for that life. And being kind of the private person that I am, I don't know if I really want the fame and notoriety that you need in order to keep the income coming in, if that makes sense.
Okay. It does make sense. And so can we say that you are the best dancer in the room at a wedding?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Listen, absolutely. And as soon as they put on, like, the group dances like Electric Slide or any of those dances where there's like a set of steps to it, I'm on the dance floor. Yes.
Nice. That matches up with everything I've known about you, and I continue to get to know you, and I love that. Okay. So you switch to majors. You switch over to mass communications. What was it that attracted you to pursue mass communications as a possible line of work?
So I always say this, my first two loves are writing and dancing, because I started them at the same time. I was 2 years old, like learning to write. My mom would help me learn to write. And then I started loving to read. And naturally, when your creativity is going, you want to start exploring your own creativity. So I started writing short stories, but at the same time, I was dancing. So they were both my loves. As far as what got me into mass communications, it was the media. It was like, how do I take this story and sensationalize it and put it to where the masses can see it? That's kind of the take I saw, or that I took from it. It was fascinating to me. It still is, how people can take one little thing out of a study and make, a 500-word article that people devour and consume, and they use it as Bible. And it's powerful. Mm-hmm. There's no other way to say it. It's very powerful.
Agreed. And what is often fascinating or intriguing to me, and I would venture to guess, I'm sure you on the same level, but we think about how we consume content. And it has gone from where I can remember my parents hounding me about you need to read the newspaper to now everything is on our device where we get things in 5 and if we're lucky 10-second bites that we scroll through really quickly and everything. Oftentimes, Shay, on this podcast, we talk about people who have had this defining mid-career moment where something changed for them, something pivoted in their career. But for you, I don't even know if it's fair to say if it's a mid-career moment, but there absolutely was this defining career moment for you where it seems like there was this perfect marriage between your knowledge of social media and how you could help someone leverage social media differently. I'd love for you to share that with us.
So way back in the day, so let's say it's 2008, I was in a totally different niche. I was in the dating niche for single women, helping them find a man, find a boo. And I had created a ebook. It was a 35-page ebook that I was selling for $27. Well, at the time when you just wrote your blog post, those blog posts were supposed to like instantly land on Google and Yahoo search, and you're supposed to make $100,000, like 6 figures that year. And it didn't happen for me. Like when I would look at Google Analytics, I was like, there's only 4 people coming to my website. How am I supposed to do this? So it took me down a rabbit hole of researching internet marketing. And at the time, I was also in a mastermind. And everybody's struggling with the same thing. We're all doing the same thing, but they're struggling. They're like, I can't get people to my blog, can't get people to my blog. Well, I started to figure it out because I was like, I don't know. I just paid all this money to this mastermind, but I'm not getting what I need. So somebody knows something. And I researched. I used to stay up late at night. This is when I was a teacher. So I would work as a teacher from 7:30 until like 5. And then I would go home from 6 to midnight, and I was working on my blog and making sure that I could get traffic to it. Well, eventually I started getting traffic, and then I started building an email list. And then what was really fun is that I got my first sale, and then I got my second sale, and then it just kept going and going and going. Well, funny enough, some people in the mastermind was doing a Google search because they were also in the dating niche. They saw one of my blog posts show up on the first page of Google, and they said, how did you do that? How did you do that? I'm following this chick that we paid a lot of money for, and she ain't telling us how to get on first page of Google. You've done it. And you're not in the forum communicating with all of us. What did you do? And so I said, well, do this, do this, do this. And they're like, can you just do it for me? And so I would coach, and then I would coach them, but then sometimes I would do it for them. And then eventually it just kind of got around like, oh, Shay can help you with that. Oh, Shay can help you get your blog on the first page of Google. Oh no, Shay can get people to it. And so it kind of fell into that where it was easier for me to get clients who wanted to pay me good money to help them get their blogs on the first page of Google than it was to help single women who says they want a man but ain't willing to comb their hair. It was just easier. It was just easier because those people they were in pain, they had the money, and they had the motivation. Like they had real motivation. They didn't just want to complain about it. They wanted to be about it. And so I was like, okay, I'm done with dating. Done. I know what I'm going to do. I have my mass comm degree. Come on. I'm perfect for this. And that's where it happened.
And everything from there, it turned to you leaving your teaching job, right? You go into business now full time.
Yes.
Right. Do you still have that ebook available?
I actually that's funny. I actually have the ebook available, and I think I still have a printed copy of it somewhere around here. Because this is what you got to realize, this is before Amazon and Kindle, where it was just so much easier to print a book. I literally went to a printer here in my town and sat there. We went over specs and we made a book. And yeah, like that's how, I mean, and that was only 2008, 2009. That's not that long ago.
It's not that long ago. It's amazing how quickly all of that has transformed.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love your story. And I love how, all right, we're just having a good laughter moment here because we're laughing about girl needs to comb her hair, guy needs to comb his hair, the whole bit. Like, clean yourself up and show up and be presentable to people if you're out there in the day.
Exactly. I had a client who would call me and say, I went on a date and the guy said that I smell like my dog. And I told him, yeah, because I kiss my dog. What? And you wonder why he didn't ask you out on a second date.
Right. Oh, I've got one for you about LinkedIn. I'm just gonna tease this for everybody. I'm holding this back because you and I are gonna have a wee and a half when I tell you this one in a moment. What is the one thing that you wish people would keep in mind about their brand or their presence when they think about social media?
The one thing that I wish they would have in mind is that every piece of content matters, from the selfies you take to the people you associate with, to the people who you comment on their posts and their pictures. All of that matters. And even if it's, you say, well, people have free speech, they can say whatever they want. I'm not saying I agree with the comment if I like it. I'm just saying that I support that person's right to free speech. That does not always come across to people who are seeing that. So you have to be aware of everything, especially now, everything you post online, because everybody's looking.
Everybody is looking, whether they're looking today or they're looking later. So you and I share some affinity or affection, if you will, for reality television. Do you remember a short-lived reality show on CBS? I have to go back to like that 2008, 2009 timeframe called The Job.
You've sent me the video for it. So
I
yes.
did. Okay, yes. Yeah. So if any of you who are listening have not seen it, the premise rather was simple. You had three candidates who were all vying for a job at a well-known, reputable company. And this particular episode that stands out for me was a fashion magazine. It was either Vogue or Harper's Bazaar or something like that. But it comes down to these two women, and one is in her early 20s and one is in her late 20s to maybe early 30s. And I believe it was for like an executive assistant type position. But they asked them both this question about social media. And the question is, if I were to go onto your social media, what would I learn about you? You can YouTube. I don't think the full episode is on YouTube, but there's a clip of it. But the older one answers the question. Now, keep in mind, 2008, 2009. The older one answers the question something to the fact of, well, I don't use social media and I don't see any benefit to it. And so I just don't post anything out there. And the younger candidate says, if you were to go on my social media profile, you would see what is typically representative of a young woman in her early to mid 20s.
Great answer.
Exactly. And now here we are, say 14 years later, right? So The Job has gone by the wayside and we have plenty other reality TV to watch. And all of that being said, but it is even more important now from a job seeker's lens that what is on your social media can be searched for and viewed by anyone. I was doing a little navigating on LinkedIn the other day because I've got this webinar that I'm doing and was looking for people and sending out some invites and things. I came across somebody's LinkedIn profile that made me stop. You and I have not talked about this. Wow. In this person's headline, it said, fired by, and then she tagged 2 people.
What? Yes. What? And yes. She tagged them.
And she tagged them. And I thought, my first thought was, wow, what are you doing? And then, of course, I just thought, oh my gosh, if I was a prospective employee, yeah, Shay's laughing her head off at this, right? If I was a hiring manager and I saw that, I would run. Girl, I would take off my heels and I would run, like run fast.
Right.
There is no way. Right.
Right.
What's your thought on that?
First off, what the hell? WTH. That's not really what I was thinking, but I'm going to keep it PG. I'm going to keep it PG.
Keep it PG for anybody listening with the kids in the car. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. But not only that, you are, it doesn't look good on you because you were fired, first off. And secondly, you tag the people who fired you. So if anybody goes to their profile, they're going to look at their profile and say, they don't seem so bad. They fired you. So you must be really terrible.
Yes.
So you've just put a scarlet letter on yourself, even though you probably did it out of anger. Was this a younger person, like 20s? Ooh, they full grown. No, they know better.
They know better is right. We know when we talk about career transition, and I'm just going to give a shout out to my friend and colleague, Robin Merrill, who wrote an amazing book called Involuntary Exit, where she chronicled not only her journey, but the journey of dozens of women who had been unexpectedly terminated or laid off from their positions. Robin in her book talks a lot about how there's just a bevy of emotions that people have to cycle through. And obviously, anger and resentment is a part of that. But I certainly, in my own judgment, cannot agree that that is the best way to handle or process such anger in that regard.
At all.
Exactly.
At all. Like you could have just I'd rather you go to Facebook and just unleash some emotions there, right? On your private, hopefully it's private, your personal page, and then delete it. Right. But on LinkedIn, where you are now unemployed, you are on a platform with tons of really good employers looking for good employees. And you just shot yourself in the foot by saying, I was fired because of something I did and these 2 people did it. Well, you're a dummy. Like, you're just a dum-dum for doing that. And, right. and you're not in your 20s, so you can't give them that excuse of, well, they're young. If you full grown and you doing that, then I mean, maybe they have somebody that pays their mortgage. I don't know.
You mentioned something earlier, though, about there's a fine line between freedom of speech and what you are putting out on social media. So at the time of this recording, which is the end of August, we're in that kind of time frame. I've been following a story in the news about a Delta flight attendant who was terminated from her job for posting an anti-Trump cartoon. Now, as I understand the story, this was not a one and done. This employee had been repeatedly warned about what they were posting on social media, especially when it came to things such as hate And while they understood the employee's right about freedom of speech, they wanted the employee to understand that as a Delta employee, they were representing the company. So in this report, and I will link up to one of the articles in the show notes in case anybody does want to go check. But a Delta spokesperson said in a statement to CNN, quote, "When Delta employees intermix Delta's brand with conduct or content that does not reflect our values of professionalism, inclusion, and respect, that conduct can result in discipline or termination."
Yes.
And there is plenty of more in the article in that way. Shay, in your experience as you are working with business owners and people and helping them with their social media presence, are we seeing more and more companies look at employees or possible employees' social media as a way to determine if they are hireable or retainable in this regard?
Absolutely. So with the rise of social media influencers, it used to be companies could just advertise all the time on TV and everything would be great. Oh, we're still going to be the biggest, baddest, boldest. Well, now people have gone away from TV and they're doing a lot more online streaming. So, and now you can pay to not see the damn ad. Sorry.
Okay.
So you can pay to not see the ad. So advertisers are getting creative. How do we find people to promote our brand? Well, social media influencers. I'll just say Cardi B, for example, before she even had the reality TV show, before she even had a record deal, she was a stripper and she had 500,000 Instagram followers. She was getting paid by brands to promote their clothing, their shoes, to come to their club. Okay, so that's on that end of the spectrum. Same thing is happening on the other side. I know someone who does HR and she's still a full-time employee, but she has this side job where she teaches people how to be better at being promoted within their company. And she gets sponsorships all the time because companies are looking for those brand ambassadors. It's no longer, I need Jennifer Aniston to promote my business so that you can get on a plane like Delta. No, as an employee, you're no longer just an employee. You're a brand ambassador, whether you realize it or not. And if you've got Delta listed as your employee, or you've got whomever listed as your employee, and you out here acting a fool on your social media, yes, you're tarnishing their brand. So it makes sense because the way companies are promoting themselves now is totally different than in the past. In the past, even in 2008, it probably would have been a little bit different because it was so new. Social media was so new. Nobody knew what to do with it. And so if the Delta employee had have just, shot her mouth off, nothing probably would have happened. We would have to go to MySpace to try to find it. And we wouldn't find it. I don't know. But now everyone posts online. Everyone's going to tag you. Someone would screenshot your post and put it on their page so that other people can see it. So whether you like it or not, as an employee, you are a brand ambassador for that company, point blank, period.
I appreciate so much of how you phrase that and put that into that context about having everybody consider and acknowledge they're a brand ambassador for their company. A lot of the people who listen to this podcast clearly are on LinkedIn. And we know that LinkedIn is a very different social media platform from things like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. But from your expertise specifically on LinkedIn, Can you share with us a couple of tips that you think, and rather, would really be beneficial to people to help them boost their LinkedIn presence so they can be a little more visible or be considered more respected or regarded as that brand ambassador that at the end of the day, an employer might be interested in?
Yes, absolutely. So, first and foremost, you want to make sure that you're following influencers like Simon Sinek or Mark Cuban. You want to follow those bigger branded people and interact with some of their comments because guess what? High executives in other companies, they're following those people too. They're following Elon Musk. They want to know, what is he going to do next? So be on their radar, go where higher executives are. That's, first and foremost. And also communicate, like interact. Like, even if you don't want to post, I think people should post, but if you don't want to, interact with other professionals, maybe not professionals that are at your company, could be at different companies. It's like LinkedIn is like an open network. Like you could talk to anybody because there is no barrier unless, you're requesting a connection request and they ignore it. But there's no barrier. So there's no excuse to not connect with influencers. That right there alone could get you on the radar of people who are like, oh my gosh, this is a project manager. Let me go to their profile. Oh, wait, they have 20 years experience? I wonder if they're interested in working for us. I don't want to post, some companies don't want to post their jobs because they're going to get flooded with resumes and they have to sift through it. But if you come on their radar when they know someone is retiring or leaving, you make it easy for yourself to stand out if you're already interacting with content and you're putting yourself in a position where they're already hanging out.
That's a great tip. And to your point about engagement, I would just add to it is that let's engage with intentionality. So yes, you can hit the reaction button. If you don't feel like you have something to say, but you want to click the like or the heart or whatever, do it. Absolutely. But if somebody's post resonates with you in some way, hit that @ symbol, tag their name to it, but then share what resonated, why you like that post, or share an additional comment. Be additive in the discussion that the author of that post is going to see it and have an opportunity to engage with as well. I loved your point about how you do not have to post. You do not have to get into all that chatter if that is something you don't want to do. You could take 10 minutes, a few days a week, and do some engagement and start building that LinkedIn SEO so you start tracking a little bit when people are searching for someone like you.
Absolutely. And then what's really cool about that too, because you and I know this because we do this, right? You are way better at it than I am. I've kind of relaxed a lot of it. But I notice when I comment and not just that was so good, a thoughtful post, like you're saying, you can tell that person read or at least skimmed enough that they could write a decent comment. That means something, but other people see it, right? And then all of a sudden, I know for me, I get clients from that. I still get clients from posts from last year where I literally read someone's post and said, oh, that's actually really good. Thank you for sharing that. Well, I get clients from that, that one little comment. And I won't say little because my comments can be a little meaty, but you want to be intentional for sure about what you're saying. And again, remember, you're a brand ambassador, even if not just for an employee, for yourself. Like you're putting your brand out there when you are commenting on people's posts. So be mindful of that.
Yeah. My best LinkedIn post to date was a clip from an interview with Michael Strahan, Sarah Haynes, and Kiki Palmer from GMA3 when they had Tamron Hall on. And Tamron Hall had recently been let go from the Today Show, and she was getting ready to launch her talk show. Well, Sarah Haynes had also been on the Today Show and then went over to ABC. So in this clip, which I found a way to download the clip and give credit where credit is due on LinkedIn and everything, and Sarah Haynes looks at Tamron Hall with the most sincere, genuine, honest, just trying, former colleague kind of a thing. And she says, I remember when it was like leaving the Today Show and I'd been there for a while and you have a new opportunity and you go on to somewhere else and you were there for 14 years or whatever. What was it like for you? And she looks at Sarah Haynes and goes, girl, I got fired. And there is this moment, like it could not get any better than that. There was this moment where Strahan falls out of his chair. Kiki's like, let me sip my tea. And Sarah's trying to profusely apologize. And I took that clip and I just did a little post about it. It got over 10,000 views. I had 250 some different reactions. And everybody can do this, whether you have 2 reactions or 250, whatever that is. I went back through every single one of those and I sent that person a connection request.
Boom.
Thank you so much for liking my post about Tamron Hall. She's amazing. I'd love to connect and be a really great LinkedIn connection for you.
And what's great about that, I didn't mean to cut you off, but what's great about what you did with the reactions, that's an extra step people don't do. People are too scared to do. But when you have a connection, a real connection, you clicked on my post, I want to connect with you. I want to get to know you better. It's better than these cold posts you get with like, oh, we have lots of people similar in our network. I think we should connect. Like, it's not anything canned. It's literally, you can go back and see, you put a laughing out loud emoji on my post. So yes, that is amazing. That's amazing.
Thank you. And yes, to your point, it's create that engagement that is real. It's reflective of you and your personality. We know that social media is a long game. What is your tip to help people be more consistent on social media, whether it be LinkedIn or another platform? Because people can get easily burnt out. How do you help them be a little more consistent?
So it's just like working out. I mean, some days you are just not going to like doing it. You're just going to have to force yourself to do it. But I always recommend my clients 10 minutes. If you can do 10 minutes 2 times a week and just find somebody to interact with, find some posts to interact with, comment on, 10 minutes, set a timer, do it, get it done, you're done. It's like taking your vitamins. And if you just get into the habit of doing that, put it on your calendar twice a week, 10 minutes, just little 10-minute increments to interact with people, especially if you're looking for a new job, especially if you're looking to go into a new field. You need to have connections. Nowadays, it's like you can send resumes all day long, and it's literally going into some black hole somewhere. You got to have a way in. And it's not always with a recruiter. Sometimes you really do need to have an employee who's in there who could be an influencer for you. So 10 minutes, twice a week.
I like that. Thank you for that. All right, Shay, as we start wrapping up, here's a few takeaways that I'm walking away with from our conversation, right? So first of all, social media, remember that you are a brand ambassador for the company you're with.
Yes.
We also talked about finding ways to interact on social media, be you and interact with them in that regard. And then to your last point, just about being consistent. Doesn't have to be this all or nothing type thing. Find 10 minutes a couple times a week. And what I would add to that is, especially for people who aren't actively job seeking, there are still opportunities for you to build your network on social media. So Shay's advice about 10 minutes a couple times a week is really well noted there.
Yes. Can I give an example about that?
Please.
About networking before you need it?
Yeah.
Because so on the side, I do a lot of things on the side, but one of the things was software engineering. So I used to help teach a software engineering class. And one of the instructors, he would have all his students, he would connect with all his students. He would make sure that he promoted his knowledge of software engineering, all these different softwares. Well, this was 2018. 2020 happened, and tons of people who were computer scientists or software engineers were laid off. Coders, they were all laid off or furloughed. He was the only person who kept his job because now his boss saw the value he was putting on LinkedIn and would regularly comment, regularly engage with it and say, this is really great. You're so doing so awesome, blah, blah, blah. Everybody else on his team was furloughed. He got to stay. It matters.
Wow. It does. It does. Thank you for that story. Yeah. Because you never know.
You never know. You never know. And when you're going to these interviews, it's no longer just graphic designers or artists who need a portfolio. Your social media profiles are your portfolio. That's your body of work. So make sure it's presentable.
Thank you so much for that. Well, we need to start wrapping up this conversation. But before we do, what advice would you have for someone to help them build their mid-career GPS?
Well, like I said, definitely follow some influencers and, make sure you have some good photos up. I mean, as humans, we are visual. So even if it's a selfie, make it a good selfie. Don't make it I was at the club selfie. Make it a good, decent selfie. Okay. Comb your hair. I've seen some photos where I'm just like, wow, I wouldn't have guessed that you were, senior VP, wouldn't guess. But yeah, just little things like that matter.
Well, it all ties back into what we've been talking about today, which is your brand, right?
Yes.
Put a brand out there that is representative of everything. I'm just going to reiterate something I shared in the introduction. I appreciate you so much. I have so enjoyed working with you. If everybody has listened to this, hopefully you understand that when Shay and I get together for one of our sessions, we not only get a lot of stuff done, we have a good time too. We have some laughs and we have a lot of fun. So if you are interested in learning a little bit more about Shay Banks and what she does and how she helps people, Shay, I'm going to turn the mic over to you to share how people can connect with you and anything else you want to share.
Yes. So what I am offering for the first 20 people who contact me, I am offering a complimentary review of your LinkedIn profile. If you want that, if you choose to have that, you can email me at shay@shaybanks.com. And it's literally only going to be good for the first 20. I know that this podcast gets devoured, so don't despair. Don't delay in emailing me. Email me, and in the subject line, put the mid-career GPS, your mid-career GPS in the subject line, so that way I know it's from the podcast, and I will get you on the schedule to do a complimentary LinkedIn review. And that's it. You can find me on shaybanks.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. My link will be in the description box.
Absolutely.
Somewhere. John's going to place that there. And yeah, email me. I'm just an email away. Or you can just go to my website, shaybanks.com.
You and I were on each other's email lists, I think, for probably about a year before we actually started connecting and talking. So if anything, get on Shay's newsletter because they are fun and informative and they help. My friend, Shay Banks, thank you so very much for spending some time with me today on the Mid-Career GPS podcast.
Thank you so much, John, for having me. You're so wonderful. You're so awesome. And I had a lot of fun. And I'm going to be laughing now off camera.
Well, same here. So everyone, thank you so much for spending some time with us and listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to connect with Shay. And as always, remember this, we build our mid-career GPS 1 mile or 1 step at a time, and how we show up matters. And more importantly than ever, comb your hair. I will see you next time. Take care. If you enjoyed today's show and don't want to miss an episode, follow on Apple Podcasts or wherever you usually listen. And I'd appreciate it if you would leave a rating and review. Visit johnnarroll.com to download your free copy of the 55-minute career transition jumpstart to help you start building your mid-career GPS. And don't forget to connect with me on LinkedIn and follow me on social at John Narroll Coaching. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.